So Red Eagle Mining is we're a fairly young company, about 6 years old. We accumulated now three we've accumulated three gold and silver districts in Colombia. The first one, Santa Rosa, it was one of the largest districts historically, where the Spanish were mining 400 years ago, and the amount of adits from the artisanal mining about 100 years ago is mind-numbing. So here's our plant. We over the last 5 years, we have a discovery hole in Santa Rosa and got it through the permitting process. We were the first modern gold mine permitted in Colombia. And we financed 18 months ago and built a plant. And here's our first gold from late last year. So, as well as the 100% owned Santa Rosa, which has just had first gold and will be in commercial production within the next couple months, we also have Santa Ana and the Vedas projects in Colombia, both high grade, both near surface. Santa Rosa, for example, we're mining from 20 meters underground. And at Santa Rosa itself, we've only drilled one shear zone. So this is 100 square kilometers, multiple shear zones, and all with artisanal work on surface. You can clearly identify where the deposits are, and this is only the first one that we've drilled so far. The plan is now we're drilling two of the other ones, and we'll have a complex of mines all feeding the one plant as we go forward. Colombia is often misunderstood in North America. A lot of people made money there in the oil business in the last decade, and the government is very pro-FDI, pro-mining. It's a right-wing government. It's the longest-standing democracy in South America and a big ally of both Canada and the U.S. There's really no risk of nationalization in Colombia, like has happened in Ecuador within the last cycle even. We have about a $200 million market cap, and the main shareholders are Liberty Mutual in Boston, and Ross Beatty and Eric Sprott, and our mine contractor Stracon out of Lima. We're about an hour and a half drive north of Medellin. From an infrastructure perspective, it's as good as you could get for a gold mining company. We were on the grid. The high voltage power line has been put in and energized. We have a workforce about half an hour away in the town of Santa Rosa, so we bust 2 shifts a day in. What we've built is a 2,000 ton per day plant, starting at 1,000 tons per day. To ramp up from 1,000 to 2,000 tons per day, it's just a 12 million capex. We've already had most of it designed. For example, we already have 2,000 ton per day filter presses. We have foundations for the extra crusher and tanks that we need to ramp up. At the current gold prices, we have about 40% IRR at $1,300, 53% IRR. We have a very fast payback on this project once we get into commercial production in a couple months. And it will be producing, in the first 12 months of full production, we'll be producing 70,000 ounces and about 55 million of free cash flow. And then we can ramp that up from there as we go into 2018. Also, if all the costs that we're talking about in here are from the feasibility study, which was done at 1,900 to 1 peso to the US dollar, and all of our capex was converted at over 3,000 to 1, and as we're going into operations now, we'll have the same benefits of the devaluation, like a lot of the gold miners have had in Canada the last couple of years. Here's what the deposit looks like, this first deposit. It's a shear zone, 2 kilometers long so far, though it's open to the east and wide open at depth. We're currently drilling on the east to extend it that way, and we'll drill at depth from underground once the decline gets down further. We've got about 1.4 kilometers down the decline so far. The shear zone itself is about 30 to 50 meters wide, and we're mining 3 veins within that shear zone. The hanging wall and footwall are both solid granodiorite, where all our development work is. And we've got it now to about 22 meters a day where we're developing in the declines, in attack ramps. This is a long section of just the reserves. So we've only drilled enough for reserves to a 250 meter depth, though we're open at depth past 650 meters is our deepest hole. So we will have a long mine life asset here. Like many underground mines have, as you know, have only a few years of mine life at a time. We already have 8, and we're going to extend that as we drill underground. And you can see to the east, we're wide open, and we're actually have a rig out there now to extend this to the east. And what you're looking at is 2 kilometers of length there. The 2 black lines there, pad 7 and 9, are the cross sections from these next slides. So what we're showing here is this is the drilling we had for our feasibility study, what all of our economics and mine plan was based on. And then since then, that was on 50-meter centers. And since then, this summer, we've drilled the deposit on 15-meter centers, which is on the right-hand side. And you can see we've the results of the entire 2016 program were released a couple days ago. And there's much higher grades and higher widths, which has given us positive reconciliation in the stopes that we're already in. And we're seeing the same higher grades in the faces as well. And what you're looking at here, the red histograms is grade, of course. This is a close-up of the first concessions we had. We do have 100 square kilometers around here now, and we have about 12 targets like this with this amount of artisanal work. What we're looking at here in the original project, the red line is the first shear zone. The red star is the plant. Pink is anomalous gold from our geochem, and blue outlines are open pits from Spanish times. And every one of those black dots, there's 3,000 on this, is a historic adit. So the oxides, down to about 20 meters only, have all been mined out, and just tunnels in every hillside as far as you can see. But a great map for us to drill the sulfides, which is what we're mining. Currently where the drills are is one is on the Rojo target in the west there. It's about 3 kilometers west of our plant. And the other one is to the east on that San Ramon extension. From a valuation perspective, we haven't had that lift yet from hitting commercial production, which will happen this spring. So we're still valued about half of what other single asset gold producers are at. The other 2 districts that we have is Vetas, which when we purchased the project, it already had 70,000 meters of drilling in it, and it averaged 1 meter wide of an ounce material. So this is a prolific district with very, very high grades. It's only a few kilometers away from California district where Ventana was, and similar kind of geology. And then Santa Ana was the largest historic producing silver district in Colombia, which we've now consolidated. They were mining 17 kilograms of silver, and the latest drilling there is 2 kilograms of silver, but it's still very, very high globally. So we've used our really first mover advantage in permitting in Colombia to acquire these other assets. And a pipeline for us, where the next one we're working on feasibility we will work on a resource, and then feasibility is for Vetas. How we did get permitted in Colombia, of course, is from day one is the stakeholder engagement. We've had over 100 stakeholder meetings at Santa Rosa, and it's the only way to do it. You have to involve everybody in the community, and we've outreached and touched everybody in those communities multiple times with our different programs. And where we are today, so where we are is we've got the plant fully commissioned. It's working on a batch process right now while we ramp up the underground. Recoveries in design are 96%. We've already got them up to 93% in the last month since we've been operating. Underground, we're about 6 stopes right now. We need to get up to 10 stopes to hit commercial production, and that'll happen over the spring. And we've shipped about 1,800 ounces of gold in this first month. So it's an exciting time for Red Eagle as we go into commercial production here and then start the development of our next project. I think we've got a couple of pictures here in my last minute. What it looks like underground, which is exciting. How we're attacking the shear zone and the different ramps. The development to date in the blue, and where we are going in the red for the rest of this year. And what the plant looks like. And the processing here with the power coming in, the crushing, the grinding in the SAG mill, and then we float it, and goes through a verti-mill, and then in the leach tanks, and then we dry press in the filtration plants. So all of the tailings are dry. Most go back, 60% go back underground, and 40% stacked, but it really limits any environmental damage when you take the extra step of drying those tailings. And pouring our gold. That's it. Thank you.